Time I've read a book called On the Calculation of Value. It's a novella. It's a time loop story, and this one's kind of funny because I feel like I kind of was assigned this book, like it was given to me as homework. Because what happened was my partner started reading it, and she was talking to me about it, and she was like, I like it, but I don't really get it. I don't really feel like I understand what's going on. So you should read it and tell me what's going on. So I got a homework assignment from my partner, and this one's for you, babe. This is me trying to figure out what's going on in this book. Um, so first of all, the introduction is a time loop novel. So what that means is it's about a character. These are really popular in film now. Um, it's about a character that's like stuck in a time loop, right? They wake up and it's the same day over and over and over again. Excuse me. Um, and yeah, these are fun. I think that part of the reason, let's start by like talking about time loops, right? I think part of the reason that time loops are so popular is because they're very expressive of something that we can kind of all feel in the Western world, which is that we're kind of stuck in place, right? Like we're kind of just repeating the same things over and over again, and there's not really any possibility for escape or catharsis or whatever. So yeah, those are time loops. They're kind of I guess they're interesting in that they do express this feeling, this moment, right? And the prototypical time loop is like someone stuck in a time loop, and then they've got to figure out why they're stuck in the time loop, and they got to do something to get out of the time loop, right? And usually it's like, oh, we gotta fix the trauma, right? And so this, I think, connects to the broader like thematic thing. Because for me, all time loop fiction is ultimately about like this moment that we feel like we're stuck in, right? And I think a lot of time loop fiction it personalizes that and says like, oh well, there's something we have to sort of realize about the moment, and then that will like get us out, right? And yeah, this book is interesting in that it seems to just reject that premise entirely. It sort of seems like our protagonist is just there. She's just stuck in it. There are 7 of these goddamn books. I've read one of them. Only 3 of them, only the first 3 have been translated into English, and I've only read the first one. And I suppose what I find most interesting about it is how boring it is. I don't particularly recommend actually reading this book, right? Because I think time loop fiction, it generally jumps right into like, oh God, oh no, I've got to figure something out. Oh, there's something I've got to, oh, and then they start doing crazy stuff and they fucking kill themselves over and over again and nothing works, like, and this character is different. There's not, I don't really get the sense that there's like a trauma that she's working through. She just sort of like slips through a crack in time and then she's stuck in November 18th over and over and over again for the rest of for forever. And at first she kind of starts she does like some very like normal person type of stuff. The first thing she does is she talks to her husband and she's like, what the hell is going on? And every day he forgets that they've had this conversation, and so she has to kind of like re-explain it to him over and over and over again. And despite this flaw, they sort of work together to try to figure things out. Him forgetting every time and her needing to like re-explain things. And they do this for several months until it just gets too like depressing for her. She starts being able to like predict what he's gonna say. She starts like she starts feeling the way that she expresses it is that time has come between them. Time has come between them. And yeah, I mean, I think that's interesting. I suppose you could read into that some sort of metaphor about like a way that a marriage can progress, I guess. But I don't know. I'm not really sure that we're meant to read it that way. I think that we're meant to just be like, what if you were in a time loop? And I was commissioned to do this video, right? I was commissioned by my partner to read this book and say what it's about. And I'm sorry, but I think this book is just kind of dumb because it's interesting, it's conceptually interesting that the time loop isn't about anything, and that the character is extremely normal, and that she doesn't actually have anything to work through. Like, conceptually, that's kind of interesting. What if the time loop wasn't about anything? What if you were just kind of in the time loop? And I think that that does connect to the broader, like, time loop themes, right? Because the main time loop theme is like, oh, we're stuck in this moment, repeating it over and over again. We're stuck in this global political moment, and we're trapped. And how do we get through it? And I think that this book, if you insist on reading it that way, and I absolutely do, then it has a much more cynical and pessimistic and kind of fucked up like take on things, which is that there's not a reason that we're here, and there's no like catharsis available, and there's no escape. Like we're just here, and we're here for reasons beyond our comprehension. And even though you're just a normal guy who like didn't do anything to get in this situation, you're still stuck. And I think that that is in some ways much more honest to the like global political themes than most time loop fiction, right? Like Russian Doll is the TV show that everybody watched a while back that did this, and in Russian Doll, there's like a search for some sort of catharsis, and once they like figure something out, then they're able to escape, right? And the idea is that there is something that can be figured out that will unstick you from this moment in time. And this character there is very clearly like nothing she can figure out. I think the other thing that's kind of interesting is I do think this novella is pretty boring, but I think it's almost interesting in its boringness. Like it's like audaciously boring because you put a character in a time loop, and I feel like if they're interesting, they're gonna be like, whoa, I'm gonna do some stuff, dude. I'm gonna start a project. I'm gonna crack this thing. I don't know, they'll have some kind of reaction, right? And this lady just kind of doesn't have that much of a reaction. Like, so far, she doesn't, like, she hangs out with her husband. I don't even know what this bitch does all day, right? Like, she spent a year where nobody needs to see her, nobody needs to, like, know where she is. She can kind of do what she wants. And, like, what has come of that? It didn't even occur to me until just now that it's like, well, she doesn't like develop any new hobbies. She doesn't like, I mean, she there's a gesture at that. She like buys a telescope, and then we never really hear about it again. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a little bit audacious in how goddamn boring the main character is. I also think that the story has a sort of a like mathematical approach. Um, I don't know. I'm really like I feel like I'm trying to pull blood from a stone here. Like the book is pretty boring, and if you think about it, the fact that it is boring, the fact that it refuses to do any of the like typical exciting things with time loop fiction, that itself is a little bit interesting, but not really, not by that much. Like I suppose one could imagine that this is a book that refuses to do something interesting and in itself like becomes more interesting as a fact of doing that, right? Like you could write a book like that. You could write a time loop. I actually, now that I'm thinking about it, that book would kind of rock. Like someone who gets stuck in a time loop and they're such a like passive, boring person that they don't even really try to get out of the time loop, right? That would be pretty cool. And then the book is just about them being in the time loop. That'd be awesome. But this isn't that. This is just like, what if your character wasn't that exciting? And the answer, in my opinion, is that if the character just wasn't that exciting, it just wouldn't be a very good book. And that is my review of On the Calculation of Volume.